Hi, it's Kenisha again. Um, I was thinking today that I would record about infertility. Um, I, I sometimes feel like inside of the infertility community, you're able to talk. You really are. I have groups, and there's a lot of computer message boards and Facebook groups and things like that, and pages in which you can go and you can comment and you can read, uh, you know, other women's stories about infertility. But the reality is that real life, that in person conversation doesn't really happen. It's usually like you know, tell someone you're trying to have a baby, and they go ahead and they're like, oh, that's great. And then, a year later, you're still trying to have a baby. And they're like, oh, just stop stressing, it'll happen. Or you lose a child and it's early, and, you know, people don't understand that that's still losing. And, it really is one of those things where you get to a point where you just don't talk to anyone about it. You stay to yourself, and you feel sometimes like less than a woman. And you are doing this process that is, sometimes 30 days long, in which you are, if you're doing in vitro, it might even be 50 days long, where you're taking medications and you're going to the doctor, and, you're waiting for results, and it's nerve wracking. And the reality is that the only thing that you want is a family. But, you don't have it. And what you see around you is like on April Fools, people do jokes and pretend they're pregnant, or you have people that pop up and they call you, and they're having a baby, they knew you were trying, and they're calling you, and you're like, oh great, yeah, I have to be happy for you. But no one has to understand that I am slowly sitting here just dying inside because, I've either lost mine or I can't get one. And then there are those that say, "Oh, just adopt." Like it's an easy process. And it really isn't. And also to take into consideration that infertility is expensive. And when I say that infertility is expensive, I mean that you have to pay for the medications. A lot of insurances don't cover them. So there is a financial strain. And you have some people who think that financial strain is a choice. And so you can't talk to them about that. I spent 8 years trying to have two children. And in that time, I want to say between my friends and family, there were at least 15 to 20 babies born. And it was hard to watch that and to be happy for other people when you know the one thing that you want, you can't have. And you can't say to them, oh, it didn't work for us again. Because people get tired of hearing that. And not only that, they began to act as if what you want is unreasonable. That, and there's some people that just are like, oh, just give it up already. Or just adopt a kid. And it hurts. And there are a lot of women suffering. I suffered in silence with it. And I was very young. There is a misconception that, the women who are having trouble getting pregnant are in their 40s. I was in my 20s. And, from the beginning of my marriage, we knew we were going to have a difficulty with me getting pregnant. And so it was like I didn't have the luxury of just saying, oops, I'm pregnant. I had to work for it every single time, and I knew every single time that I was pregnant. You watch these shows and they're these women that are like, oh, I didn't know I was pregnant. And if you ever talk to any woman who has been through infertility, they're like, what? You didn't know? I mean, it's a possibility. I guess it is there. But if you have been tempting, if you have been charting, if you have been to the doctor, if you have been doing all of those things that most of us do who are going through infertility, you know, as soon as possible. You know how many days after you ovulate when to check. And so it's just an ongoing cycle. And I have friends that I met through the infertility world who haven't been successful. And, it's hard for them to even talk about it anymore. Some people give up because, they don't see that it's going to happen for them. And, this is an issue that is just in every community. There are so many women who are dealing with this. The idea that all you have to do is have sex to have a baby is just not a reality for some of us. And the other thing is, you realize when you walk into this world of infertility that you have to learn about your body. I mean, I feel like if it wasn't for me having to go through the things that I did, I would not have known as much about my body, my reproductive system, any of that. And as a result of that, my husband knows a lot about it too. And I think for the other side of that too is that you look at the women, but you forget that there are men as well that are in this, and we have husbands or boyfriends or spouses or whatever, and they're dealing with it too because they're trying with us, and they have to deal with the emotions that or the mood swings that we have from the medication, or the crying when you're not successful. A lot of marriages end because you're not able to have a baby. So I think it is a big deal, and I think that the fact that it's so taboo to talk about or to say out loud in a room, it just hinders the healing that needs to happen. Because after you are successful, after you do have that baby, it's not like it goes away. I have 2 children. I have 2 little boys, and I love them to death. But I'd love a little girl. But the reality is that I know that I can't do it. Emotionally, physically, mentally, I can't go through the process again. And so, I can think of alternative options, or, I can be happy with what I have. Those are my choices. And to me, that's not fair. It makes me sad. But the rest of the world is like, well, you already have 2 kids. And so there is the silence. You can't say it. It's not acceptable. But I don't think that we should be held back by that anymore. We shouldn't be held back.